Hi, good morning. My name's Mike. I just want to talk to you a little bit about this. This is the Abbott Libre 2 continuous glucose monitoring system. This is actually just a sensor. Now, my clinician suggested this is a good thing, and it would do away with things like pinpricks. Now, I've been doing pinpricks for over 35 years, and trust me, after that period of time, the sides of your fingers they get a little bit calloused and a little bit unpleasant. In fact, of all the things with diabetes for me, for type 1, it's sticking needles in my fingers that really irritates me. So, great, no more of those. When you look on the Abbott website, it says no more pinpricks, which is fantastic. Now, of course, that's not the reality. The reality is these sensors, these little beasts, they're quite good. That stays on. It gives me continuous readings. That's great. However, if you want an actual clear, correct reading of your glucose levels, you have to do a blood glucose test. That's sticking a pin in here and putting it onto your sensor from your bit of kit you use. So I've been doing that for many years, and I've managed to maintain a very good control of my blood sugar levels. So no bits have fallen off and no bits have broken so far. So I'm quite pleased with that. So would I recommend this Abbott? Well, with caveats really. I think Abbott are very disingenuous with their advertising and on their websites. They clearly say no more pinpricks. Now, actually, what they should be saying, no more pinpricks when you're using just for your continuous monitoring. That's great. So I'm not sticking. Every time I look at this, I don't need to stick a needle into my finger. I can look at it. I can scan the thing with my phone, and it'll give me a reading. Great. That's great. However, it won't give me an accurate reading, and it won't do that because it measures your interstitial glucose levels. That's the level between your cells and not the blood. The blood is the only accurate one for us diabetics to know precisely what's going on at that moment. So this will have a lag in it. Okay, there'll be a difference. And so far, I've only had this for a couple of days. So far, I found it can be around 2 millimoles, maybe 2.5 millimoles, which when you're considering putting insulin in your body to deal with exercise or food or those sorts of things, that's quite a difference, and that'll change how much insulin you actually use, which isn't necessarily a good thing. So on the screen next to me now, you'll see two readings. The top one is my Aviva Expert that I've been using a good few years. I calorie count as well, so I know precisely what goes in, and it advises me precisely what I need to take at that certain time to combat my food, which is great. The one below, taken at exactly the same time, is the Aviva reading that's sitting on my phone. Now you'll notice the difference is quite marked. It's nearly 2 millimole, which is quite a lot. Now in this case, you'll see that the Abbott is showing a higher and my actual reading is lower. So what's happening here is my blood is starting to drop. My blood sugars are starting to drop. Let's get that out of your way. It's starting to drop. Okay. My actual reading now is about 8.1, but because this is measuring interstitial levels, the sensor is behind. So it's actually showing my bloods up here. Okay. So let's say, for instance, it's showing it to be about 5, all right? But actually, because it's behind my blood glucose, my level might be in hypo territory by now. Now I'll know that by the way I feel, because I get. But those people that don't get those triggers, they could get into trouble. So I don't think you can trust it fully. So it works conversely as well. So if we're now, the blood levels are going up, so let's say this monitor is now showing, say 12, say about 12, actually, because it's now chasing my real levels, my actual level may not be 12, it might be 14 or 15. Okay, so real level 14, 15, the continuous monitoring a bit behind it. Now these have all implications on what you do to correct these things, whether you take some glucose, some sweets or whatever to take it up if you think you're getting low, etc. So the other problem, of course, is because our blood glucoses rise and go down according to what we're eating or exercise, but it's not really linear. So you can't say every single time, oh well, my sensor will always be 2 millimoles out, up or down, depending where the little arrow. It's got a little arrow, which is good because the arrow tells you whether it's going down at a certain rate, it's going down quickly, or it's going along quite reasonably, or indeed it's going up and again at a certain rate, or it's going up quickly. So that's useful. So for those purposes, I think this has got really good value. So it just gives you a general guide, but for actually controlling how much insulin I take throughout my day during my meals, etc., I personally don't think you should rely upon this. Now, I've looked at a fair bit of research, and I saw a particular one from Sheffield, which is more recent, so I tend to take the more recent ones as opposed to one 10 years ago. And they say, and this is from the paediatric centre in Sheffield, the Royal Hampshire, and I'll leave a link in the bottom of this when I've done as well. And they state very clearly that for controlling your insulin dosages and use, you should not rely upon these. You should always use a blood glucose monitor. So that is what I would suggest to people as a long-term diabetic and who takes this quite seriously. This is quite a good thing, just a little snapshot, but don't always trust what it's telling you, because it could be out by a significant amount, particularly when you're considering meal times and taking in your insulin during the day. So I'm tending to use this, and this is only where I intend to use it. So because I know there's this disparity of readings, I've got my low alarm set higher. So I know when my bloods are beginning to go a bit hooky, just above 4, which is great, and it's always been that way for me, so I'm quite fortunate there. So rather than wait until it gets there, I want to monitor it. So with this sensor, I've now set my phone to alarm me, or to give me a little heads up to say, actually, you're getting down to about 6 now, maybe you need to have a quick look. Now that's just allowing me to say, I'm getting to where I need to do something about it. I might take a sweet, have a biscuit, have a drink, etc., those sorts of things. So overall, that's it. Are these things a good thing? I think they are, but I think they should be very clear in their marketing. Even the obligatory online course you have to do with Abbott to have one of these, they talk about no longer having pinpricks. What they should be saying, you don't have pinpricks while this is continually monitoring, but if you want to have an accurate reading before you eat food, for instance, you should prick your finger and use a proper blood glucose meter. Okay, I think that's all I've got to say about it. Okay, thanks for listening. All right, bye-bye.